Hey, what's going on, guys? Joe McCall. Welcome to the weekly Deals with Joe training that I do, where I just teach some cool stuff that we're doing, and I want to train you on how to do as well. So I thought today's video, I wanted to show you how I like to make multiple offers for houses and for vacant land. One of the things that I like to do, and I always have, is when I'm making offers to sellers, I like to give them a cash offer, and if they say no to the cash offer, then I tell them, well, you know, if I could get you more, would you be willing to accept your payments over time? And if they say, yeah, I'm like, so a lot of times when you make offers to sellers with just cash, you're going to get 1 out of 30, 1 out of 50 accepted. Well, what if you could double or triple your deal flow by offering them options? What if you could offer cash at one price, a little bit higher, offer them a lease option if it's a house maybe, and a little bit higher if it's owner financing? So typically with houses, what I like to do is I'll offer 3 different prices: cash, lease option, owner financing. If it's a vacant lot, I'll offer cash and owner financing. So for lands, typically I don't want to do a lease option. I just want to buy it. I like lease options with houses maybe a little bit better because the property's worth a lot more. And I believe, in my opinion, a lease option gives you're taking on less risk. Does that make sense? Let's look at some deals. What do you say? And I'm going to show you, I have a calculator. And by the way, you can get this calculator at simplelandkit.com, the land calculator. The house one, I don't know where to get that. The best place to get that is probably in my inner circle. And so I'll put that link in the comments or in the description down below later on. But if you want my land kit calculator, go to simplelandkit.com and get it for free. Let's do a house first. Montgomery County, Maryland. Montgomery County, Maryland. Is that Oh, okay. Yeah. Very expensive here, but let's see what we've got. Median sale price is $555. Very hot market. So, I mean, it's a good question because, like, can you do deals everywhere, anywhere? Yes. The problem is when you're in a very expensive and competitive market, it's just harder to do deals. If I am a virtual wholesaler and I'm looking all across the country on where and how to do deals, I'm not going to go into the expensive markets. I'm not going to go into the most competitive markets. I'm going to go where most of the investors are doing deals. Let's go to Freedom Soft. I'm going to go to Zip Finder. What are the hottest zip codes in that county of Maryland? Maryland. Let's look at county. And Montgomery. Last 90 days. This is a Zip Finder tool in Freedom Soft. This tells me the most active zip codes. Now, I don't know if it's done or not, but look, I'm not seeing very many of them. Maybe these zip codes are really small, but there's only 9 investors in 20902, 20817, 20815, 20854. PropStream, you could do this. Montgomery County, Maryland, and go to filter. We could do, let's just do owner occupieds, no. Property characteristics, we want single families, multifamilies. And you know what, since maybe condos and townhouses are big in that area, normally in the Midwest where I like to do deals, I don't like condos, but maybe in Maryland, yeah. Okay, then we're going to go here to ownership info. And we're going to say last sale date. Let's go back 3 months. 1, 2, 3. Since January 1, there's 289 properties. Let's actually go back 3 more. 1, 2, 3. Since October 1. Okay. So since October 1, these 637 properties have been purchased by investors in the last 6 months. And so what you could do is you could download all these and find the top zip codes where the most activity is happening. The other thing, you can do this inside of ListSource. ListSource is free to sign up. It costs money to download lists, but PropStreamJoe.com is $97 a month, but you get a free 1 or 2 week trial, I think. At ListSource, we're going to go to here to investor foreclosure services, absentee owners. We're going to choose county. We're going to choose state, Maryland. And we're going to choose the county, Montgomery. All right, there's 31,000 property records in that county. Then we're going to go to next. We're going to choose single family 1 to 4 units. And we're going to do last market recording date, let's do last 6 months. So there's 414 transactions from absentee owners in the last 6 months. However, we're going to go do one more thing. Next, we're going to do corporate-owned properties, no preference. So there's 606 in Montgomery County transactions in the last 6 months of 1 to 4 family units where the absentee owner, doesn't matter if it's a corporate-owned property or not. I'm going to pretend like I'm purchasing the list. I'm going to go to purchase partial list. I'm going to do custom selection, drop down to zip code. And then what it's done here is it's given me a table of all of the zip codes. And I have a spreadsheet that I like to mess with this. I'm just going to copy all of this. Copy. Cool. By the way, this spreadsheet here, if you want it, simplelandkit.com. Okay, so I'm going to paste these zip codes right here. I'm going to go down, copy them, and I'm going to paste them right here. So I paste all those zip codes because there's 40 zip codes, but we don't want to target all 40. We just want to target the most active ones, right? And if we scroll over here, we can see that in these zip codes right here, 50% of all of the activity in those zip codes happened in these 8 zip codes right here. 20906 was the most popular one with 49 transactions. From FreedomSoft, in the zip code finder, in that MSA, we can see the most popular zip code, and this is just the last 90 days. What we just did with PropStream and ListSource was last 6 months. You can see the most popular zip code is 22407, 20019, and that's for the entire area. What I did here was just Montgomery County. Does that make sense? So since we're looking at just Montgomery County, I would encourage, we'll do that, but I would encourage you, take a look at the whole MSA. If you're going to be doing deals in here, you know, what's going on in these areas. If you zoom in, you can see kind of the big circles are the most popular counties. And let me just show you too here from FreedomSoft, something cool. You could say, all right, I'm going to just check the top 5, and you say find buyers, and it gives you who are the buyers, active buyers, and it gives you 71 of the most active buyers in those top 5 zip codes. And you can add them to a list. You can skip trace them, call them, send them mail, talk to them. Okay. You can also go seller leads in those same zip codes, those 5 zip codes. Let's do search all, property filters. You could do that if you want. All right. So here we go. They bought it from unknown to 2009, include unknown. So in those top 5 zip codes now, I can pull a list of, it's still searching here, 996. So this takes a minute, but it'll get, 5-something thousand absentee owners with a lot of equity. And we could highlight this whole list, add it to a lead list. From here, we could send them, so 4,669. We could select all pages, add them to a list, and skip trace them, cold call them, do a direct mail campaign, and that kind of stuff. But if we look at one of them, you'll see kind of what we have here. This is an absentee owner. View details. You get information about the property. Here's the map view, satellite view. Here's a street view. This property is an absentee owner owned by Glenwood Hills Venture. So you could add these properties to your list. All right. So these here are in just Montgomery County. These are the top 8 zip codes. You can do it from ListSource. Remember, the top zip code was 20019. Let's look at Redfin. 20019. What's going on in this zip code? Where is it at? Let's look at for sales, under contracts, and pendings. Home types. Let's do houses, townhomes, and condos. Get 207 active listings. And if we sort this from price low to high, let's just see what we've got here. All right, so I'm going to exclude condos and townhouses. I just want to focus on houses. Again, that may be, if you're already doing deals in this area, townhomes are going to be, you can be doing that. But look at the pendings here. This thing is contingent right now for 250,000. This one is pending for 250,000. It gives you an idea of these properties are selling for about this, right? And this one, does it need any work? Nope. Yes, it does. It doesn't have any interior pictures. This one needs some work. Yeah. And that property is contingent, so it's under contract. 960 square feet. They're asking $275 for it. All right, so these homes aren't cheap. This is what you get when you're so close, when you're in a competitive market, so close to a major metropolitan area like DC. And I'm going to guess this used to be an area 10 years ago that was not safe to drive down. But property values have just shot up. And the market in DC has always been strong, I'm guessing, right? If you click on one of these, it's going to give me some stats on that zip code if I scroll down in Redfin. Here we go. Single-family home sales in that neighborhood, 507 median list price. Days on market, a little higher than normal. Scroll over. Now we're looking at another neighborhood, maybe a bigger neighborhood or something, I'm not sure, or a neighboring neighborhood. 152 median days on market, that's a lot. Here's the zip code. So it's probably just giving me all the different zip codes, I mean, the neighborhoods in that zip code, I'm guessing, right? You can see the median list price, median days on market. Here's the city. Here's the county. So you can, in Redfin, you kind of zip through here and see all this stuff, right? This tells you what I like to look at when I'm looking at a market is it starting to trend down? It's not trending up anymore, is it? So values have maybe peaked. So when I'm figuring my ARV, my after repair value, I'm going to be conservative, aren't I? Okay, so let's just say we're looking for deals now in this zip code of 20019, 20019. All right, let's do it in PropStream Joe. I'm going to reset my filter here. All right, there's 16,000 records. So 20019 is in the District of Columbia, which I don't know. Is it a state or a county? It's not. It's just its own thing. So there's 1,367 properties that are absentee owned with a lot of equity. Let's look at the first one here. And this is an out-of-state owner. Let's look at the details of this one. Norma Jackson lives in Maryland. This is a 3-bedroom, 2.5 bath, 1,100 square foot townhome, condo. Let's look at the street view. All right, there it is. That's pretty normal for that area, I'm guessing. Looks like a nice neighborhood. Nice cars. We could add this person to a lead list. We click right here, add to lead list. I'm going to create a new list here. Let's just call it. So let's go to my lists. Here's that property that we just looked at right here. Click view snapshot. Get some information about the property. This is an absentee owner. It's a distant landlord because they're out of state. We don't know the last sale date. So this, sometimes in some of these zip codes in some of these counties, they're non-disclosure, so you just can't get that information from the county records, right? This seller, you can see their portfolio of properties that they own. They own 5 other properties. Assessor tax information, let's look at that here. So from here, we could actually skip trace the owner. We click more actions. We could click skip trace. We could skip trace her, get her name, get her phone numbers and emails. We could do that. And then we could also go right here to send direct mail. From here, we could actually send her a letter or a postcard. And there's a Driving for Dollars postcard that looks like this that I like to send. It just says, hey, I saw you have this property. If you're interested in selling it, let me know. There's another postcard I like that has a street view. Here we go. Here's what the other postcard will look like. Attention, Norma Jackson. I was driving by your property the other day at address. You wouldn't consider selling it, would you? Call or text me for a fast, fair offer today. I want to buy your house. You could change this. If you could say, you could change it to townhouse. Okay, so here is a cool postcard that FreedomSoft will do for you, and it does a street view of the property. Is this your house? I want to buy it. For a fast, fair, cash offer, text or call. That's the phone number that comes from FreedomSoft. Okay, and bam, just like that, from here, I could send that postcard to that seller right here from FreedomSoft, which is really cool. I like that. You can also put them into a sequence. You could have it send them this postcard, then this letter, then this postcard, then this letter for 6 months if you want, 12 months if you want. You can set all that up. And then, so when you find a good property, yeah, just go with that. Does that make sense what I'm saying there? Okay. Let's say this seller says, yes, okay, I want to sell this property. And I want to make her an offer. What do I do now? Well, let's see. I'm going to pull this property up in Redfin just to make sure I can. This is a property I can get some information on. It's off market. There it is. So it's sold in 21 for $378,000. Let's say the seller wants to sell the property. It's a tired landlord. She's just done with it. She wants to get rid of it. And looking at the pictures from 3 years ago, looks pretty nice. So if I'm going to buy it, there's probably not a lot of work that I need to do to it, unless the current tenant has trashed it. All right, so I have this calculator here. I'm going to put my information in it. Joe Homebuyer. Let me zoom in a little bit so you can see this. My name is Average Joe. My business phone number is this. Fax number. Today's date. Business address. My email. Website if you have one. The seller's name. The seller's name on this property. Let's paste that address right here, shall we? Details. Oh, I have the seller's information right here. Norma Jackson. Just going to copy that. Property address. Now, by the way, FreedomSoft will create all of this contracts and stuff for you, but I'm showing you how to use my calculator. Seller's mailing address. Now we're going to determine the ARV of this property. ARV stands for after repair value. So what I like to do is I need to determine the ARV. And I'm just going to keep it super simple, and I'm just going to take the averages of what Redfin says it's worth, what Zillow says it's worth, and what Realtor.com says it's worth. So Redfin says it's worth about 410, 467. So I'm just going to put that right here. This will be Redfin. All right. I'm going to add another one. Let's do the same thing for Zillow. Zillow says it's worth 415, 600. Then the other one I like to look at is Realtor.com. This property, by the way, PropStream also gives me 419. PropStream. Realtor.com. Let's put that property in here. Sometimes you have to be a little tricky with the address. For some reason, Realtor.com is not giving me the value of the property. Normally they do. Oh, here we go. So I'm going to zoom in a little bit. So if I'm looking at today, Collateral Analytics says 409, however you spell it. All right. Then Quantarium says 391,042. Let's just do another. We don't have to type in the source. CoreLogic says 393, 200. All right, so now I've got 5 different values. I think FreedomSoft also gives us an estimated value of this property, 443,750. So you could take all of those, just average them, take out take out the highest one, take out the lowest one. So you've got, 409. Might be worth 409. Now, I have also done a 6-month future percentage adjustment. So this is where you need to look at, okay, in this area, looking at this property, this is one of the reasons I like Redfin. If I scroll all the way down, what's going on with this property? Is it kind of going down? Is it going up? The values in the area? Is it kind of flat? It's definitely not like it was up here going up and up and up. So I'm going to scroll down a little bit, and let's look again at that neighborhood area. The last year, it's kind of flat. So in this calculator, you can adjust. Yeah, maybe I'd be a little more conservative and knock it down 10% or 2%. If it's going up, maybe you can bump it up a little bit, keep it flat. I'm going to be conservative. I'm going to make it go down 2% in 6 months. Then you choose the ARV you want to use. So I'm just going to use 400,000. After repair value of 400,000. The other thing you could do is here you're at this property. This is 3 beds, 1,500 square feet, townhome condo or whatever, right? Redfin says it's worth 410. I'm going to be a little conservative. I'm going to say my ARV is 400. You click on this map right here. This is a cool feature of Redfin. And you click nearby homes for sale. And what that does is it puts your house, your property, right in the center of that map. And now you can look for different properties. Let's look at solds in the last 6 months. You can choose your home type if you want, condo, townhouse, and you can do filters in here if you wanted to. Let's look at all 3. This is the last 6 months, right? Last 6 months. And our property was 1,534 square feet. You could do something like square feet. Let's do 1,100 to 1,800 possibly. Sometimes I'm wanting to see what is dropping off when I do this. Let's sort from price low to high. Now these black ones means it was just sold from county records. I'm looking for properties that have sold that have been fixed up recently. All right, so this looks like a good comp, even though it's smaller. Sold for $399,000, $500. It's not that much smaller. It's a 3-bed, 2-bath, which mine is as well, 3-bed, 2-bath. So even though it's a little smaller, this is a real good comp. And how long was this one on the market? Let's look at sale history. Went on the market June. And look at this. It went on the market in July and didn't sell for August, September, October, November. 4 months later, and they had a price drop. So that's just, again, confirming to me that I need to make sure that I am I'm being more conservative in my price. So I feel good. ARV. In fact, I might even want to do $395. I'm going to list it for $395. And now, am I going to be doing the rehab? No, I'm just going to be wholesaling this house. So I'm putting myself in the mind of the buyer. If that buyer who's an experienced rehabber in this area sees that I'm projecting to sell it for $395, they're gonna look at these comps and they're gonna say, oh, you know what? No, this one's bigger, but a little better side of the neighborhood. I can actually sell it for $400, $405. They might use this one as a better comp for $510. That's really high-end finishes. It's 400 bigger square feet. Maybe has a bigger backyard. This one's way bigger. Okay, so anyway, one thing you could do real quick, let's just actually do another filter for square feet to be closer to what ours is. Let's do 1,200 to 1,800 square feet. And if I want more comps, let's zoom out. And let's not do houses, just townhouses and condos. I'm looking for ones that have been fixed up. This one is not. I like this comp the best. I'm kind of shooting from the hip here because I've never done a deal in this area before, but I'm trying to put myself in the mind of the buyer. If they're looking at my property, what comp are they going to look at? This is probably a good one. Sold for $400. I'm going to say mine could sell quickly for $395. So I've determined that's the ARV, the after repair value. Okay, let's go to next. Now here is 3 different ways to come up with a cash offer. ARV times percent minus repairs minus fee, or the average of the lowest solds. There's 2 different ways to come up with cash offers. All right. So I'm saying from the ARV is this. This is a hot market. Normally it's 70% of ARV, but I might do 75% of ARV. Square footage is 1,534. Now, repairs. If I did $10 a square foot, because looking at these photos, it's not that bad, but this is 3 years ago, right? The seller tells me there's been a tenant in the property and they haven't, maybe need some more updating. Maybe I want to do $25 a square foot and you're looking at $38,350. Maybe just do $30,000 estimated repairs. Now, another cool thing you can do within Freedom Soft is you can, on this property, there's a rehab estimator right here. Start new estimate. Call it demo. The style is so it says, this says the square feet is this, but it was actually 1,534 square feet, wasn't it? Okay. Three bedrooms, 2 baths, no garage. Roof doesn't need any work. Let's do 5% contingency. It's livable and clean. Current condition, let's say. Livable and clean. Finished square feet, we're not going to add any. It's still going to have 3 beds, 2 baths, no garage. Finished quality, let's just say average. Let's choose the state, District of Columbia, Washington. Create estimate. Desired garage cannot be blank. No garage. All right, so it's giving me two rehabs here. Rental grade rehab and fix and flip rehab. And this is going to get you within 10, 15%. You scroll down. So rental to fix up to get it ready for rent, maybe 10 grand. To rehab it to fix and flip, maybe 30 grand in rehab. So now you got to think, who is my end buyer on this? Is it a retail buyer or a landlord who's going to rent it out? Sometimes you just got to do, let's do 30 grand. I want to make at least 10 grand wholesale fee on this deal. So now method one, my cash offer is going to be 256. Now here's another method that I like to use, and this is better for cheaper rental properties maybe, or in an area where it's kind of a little more run down. And this is where you're going to take the average of the lowest solds times a certain percentage. Now, what does that mean? So this market is off property. This property is off market. I'm going to click on this, and I'm going to click Map Nearby Homes for Sale. And I'm going to do solds in the last 6 months. And I want to make sure I'm looking at a similar property. Townhouse, condo. I'm going to do square feet. Let's do 1,200 to 1,800. So I have a pretty narrow criteria there. Let's do 1,900. And I'm going to sort from low to high. And sometimes I need to go back maybe a year because I want as many cheap comps as I can get. And I'm going to zoom out to get more. All right, now I have 50. And these are all townhomes or condos within the similar size square foot that have sold in the last year. And I want to just get the average of the lowest sold. So there's beds. Let's make it a minimum of 3 bedrooms. So this one sold 173,645. 173,645. This one, 240,000, 280,000, 300, 322. What am I doing here? These are properties. These are the prices that investors bought properties for in this neighborhood, right? Like this one they bought, needed a lot of work, 348, 250. Let's do one more, 348, 250. All right, so this is where now you can look at, maybe let's exclude the outliers. So I'm just looking at these 5. These are the cheapest 5. I'm going to average them and discount it 80%. So now I have another cash offer of 238. It's a very simple formula. Doesn't always work, but just take the average of the lowest solds multiplied by 80%, maybe 90% if you want, if it's a hot market. Okay, so now I have 2 cash offers. One using the ARV formula, 256, and the cash offer method number 2 of 268. So now you can just choose. Now this is where you've got to talk to the sellers and find out, what is the least you could take, and get a price from them. But let's say they're like, the least I would take would be 350. Well, you're obviously worlds apart, but you're still going to make an offer. I would make an offer for, let's just say, 265. Earnest money deposit. Let's do $1,000 earnest money deposit. Let's give them a deadline for Friday night for our offer. We're going to offer 265, 1,000. All right, now we're not done. We're going to actually make a lease option offer to the seller. So we're basically going to give them 3 offers for this house: cash, lease option, owner financing. So looking at a lease option offer, I like to make 2 different lease options offers. A sandwich lease option where I'm going to stay in the middle, and a wholesaling lease option where I'm just going to assign my interest to a tenant buyer and be done and out of the deal. Now with a sandwich lease option, I usually want at least 15% equity in the house and at least 25% of the rent for cash flow, because I'm going to be staying in the middle of this. So the as-is value of this property, fixed up is $395. After you put 30 grand into it, the as-is value is about $365. And so I want at least 15% equity. Now, maybe this is a hot market. You're okay with 10% equity. Maybe all you care about is the cash flow. So let's just do 10% minimum equity. So I'm going to give the seller now an option price of $328,500. You know what? I want at least 15% equity. So I'm going to make my option price will be $310,000. Okay. Now, what's the market rent on this property? Sometimes Redfin will tell you Sometimes it won't. Let's just see. No. So let's look up on Zillow. 2,800. Let's just go with that. Now, FreedomSoft will give you comparable rents also. And if you want to spend some time, you can kind of look to see, zoom into the area and see these are either current properties that are listed or previous other properties that have been listed in the past. I'm not sure where they're getting this. Rentometer is another site that you could use. Rentometer. You put the address in here and see what comes up. Let's just say 2,800. Let's say it's 2,800, 3 beds, 1.5 or more. Analyze. Sometimes it requires you to log in, create an account. All right, so the average is 2,750. Median is 2,650. I'm always trying to be under promise, over deliver. So if this is important when you're figuring offers on houses, and this is taking me way longer to do than normally does because I'm explaining on teaching all of this, right? So like you may be thinking, why is this taking so long? It's because I'm teaching this and I'm taking my time. But anyway, you always want to under promise, over deliver, in my opinion, right? So if the rents are going to be 2,700 to 2,800, then use 2,700. If the rehab's going to be $20,000 to $30,000, use $30,000. If you think the house is worth $280,000 to $300,000, always use 280. Use the more conservative number. So I'm going to say the rent, let's just say, is $2,650 in here. Okay. And you could also spend some time looking at similar properties in this area. Our property is right in the center, right? You could now go look at rentals instead. Let's look at 3+ bedrooms. Let's look at all of them. Let's zoom out. I'm going to remove boundary, zoom out. So this is showing me my rental comparables. Zoom out one more time. Now I have 12 comps for rents. You know, this is my competition. 2,800 for this one, but it's 3 baths. So I feel pretty good. I could rent it probably quick at $2,600, $2,700 a month. Let's do $2,700. Cash flow. I need cash flow on this deal. Maybe 20% cash flow. So now I have $540 a month cash flow. That's the difference between what? I'm going to give the seller $2,100 in rent, and I'm going to collect $2,700 a month in rent. Let's go with 25%. So I'm going to give the seller $2,025. I'm going to collect $2,700. Now, option deposit paid to the seller. I usually do 1 month's rent. So I'll do $2,000 to the seller option deposit, and I want to typically get 5 years. Now, here's the wholesaling lease option offer. This is where I'm not going to stay in the middle. I'm just going to assign it. So what's the price the seller wants, or the as-is value? The seller wants $350 for it, but I can give them a little bit more if they're willing to do a lease option on it. $2,700 a month in rent. You have to give some kind of option deposit to make the contract valid. I'll do $100, and let's do 2 years. Okay, let's go next. We're not done yet. We're going to do owner financing offer. This is where you can offer the seller principal-only payments or interest-only payments, all right? So the price of the property is as-is value is $365,000. Let's just give them that offer, $365,000. Do I want to discount it at all with principal-only payments? No. I'll give them current as-is value with 0 down, and I usually want to do 50% of the market rent. So I'm going to give them principal-only payments of $1,350 a month, full price. Now, why on earth would you do that? Because it's going to cash flow really well, and these are principal-only payments, so I'm not paying any interest on this. So I'll pay them off in 22 years. Now, maybe you can negotiate a balloon in 10 years or something like that. Let's say the seller wants interest. Okay, so maybe you give them interest and you discount it 10%. So you'll give them, instead of $365,000, you give them $328,000. And they also want a little down payment, so you do 5% down payment, and you give them 4% interest. And maybe you do a balloon in 10 years. So there's different ways. The great thing about owner financing is you can negotiate, instead of just one thing with cash offer price, You can also negotiate the price, the down payment, the interest rate, the balloon, when payments start, and all that good stuff. Okay, cool. Boom. Let's click submit. I was going to do a land deal and a house deal, but we're already over an hour. So we're just going to do houses this time. Okay, so here, this software gives you 6 or 7 different things here, which is pretty cool. Let's look at each of these here, why they're here. But anyway, here's a cover letter to the owner of the property. It was great talking with you today about your house at address. Here's some options for what I can do. Innovative approaches for leasing or selling your home. Lease option proposal. Letter of intent. We can buy your house one of these ways. All cash, $265. Lease purchase option, where that's where we're going to stay in the middle. We'll give you $310 for it. We'll give you $2,000 down. We'll pay you $2,000 a month in rent for 5 years. That's the sandwich lease option where we will be the tenant buyers. We'll stay in the middle. And then we'll even give you more if you're willing to do owner financing. We'll give you $365,000, 0 down, $1,300 a month for 22 years. Now, if you wanted to, you could add a sentence here. Balloon, 10 years. You could do something like that, or call this amortized, something like that, right? You can always change these things because it's in a Google Doc. And then here is 1 or 2 page summary of what a lease option is, summary of the benefits, and then frequently asked questions about how a lease option works, what it is. Cool. All right. Here is letter of intent number 2 that you could send to the seller. Cover letter. And this is now all cash, lease purchase option, lease purchase assignment. This is where you're staying in the middle, and this is where you're doing just a simple lease option assignment. You get it under contract to lease option it, you sell or assign that interest to a tenant buyer, and you're done and out of the deal. So I would sell this. If I got it under contract for this, $365, $2,700 a month for 2 years, I'll just sell that contract, assign it for $5 to $10,000 to a tenant buyer. And then again, another 3 pages of summary of benefits, frequently asked questions, etc. Here is letter of intent number 3. This is different. This is going to be owner financing. So this is going to be all cash offer of $265, or seller financing, where the seller carries back a balance at 4% interest, only payments, monthly payments of $1,440 with a balloon in 10 years. So you pay $16,000 down. You're going to pay interest only payments of $1,000 a month. You're going to rent it out for $2,700 a month. Of course, you have taxes and insurance that you have to include in here. And the balance is going to be, you're going to have to close or refinance in 10 years at $312. Well, hopefully with this, you do a lease option, right? So you're going to sell it on a lease option for $400,000, get a tenant buyer to buy it within 10 years for $420,000, and you're just going to pay the seller off. You're going to pay them $312 or whatever the balance is. Seller financing 2 is you'll give them a larger payment, nothing down. A larger purchase price, nothing down, with $1,350 a month in payments. And then this is a page of what owner financing is and summary of the benefits of owner financing. And then here is a 1-page thing that I borrowed with permission from Richard Roop. And it's just a 1-page report on how to sell your house as is for a fair price on the date of your choice. It's pretty cool. I'm not done yet. Here's a cash-only offer letter that you could send to the seller or email to the seller. I like this a lot. This is a cover letter. Hey, this sheet of paper is worth $265,000 for the next 30 days. You can change that for the next 15 days. This offer is good for 15 days. If you have any questions, call me. And here's a 1-page contract for the property. You have 60 days to close, and you can extend 30 days. You can change this to 30 if you want. And then here are the summary. Here's the summary of the benefits when you sell your property to us compared to other investors. And then a final page of there's 2 ways to sell your properties. You can determine the list price, get ready for sale, advertise it, wait for an offer, advertise newspapers, flyers, wait for an offer, hold an open house, wait for an offer, show property to buyers, wait for an offer, negotiate a sales price, make necessary repairs, prepare all contracts, coordinate the follow-up with the title company, or sell your house to us and get a check at closing. So this is a cool little cover letter, 1-page contract, summary of benefits, 2 ways to sell your properties for just cash offer. Here is a 1-pager with 3 different options you can send to the seller: cash, lease purchase, seller financing. Here's a 1-page seller report that I showed you before. Now the format's going to be off because it's in a Google Doc, but when you make this into a Word document, it looks fine. And then blind owner financing offer. This is something I've done before. It works actually kind of well. Where basically we're sending a offer in the mail blind to the seller to owner financing their property. My name is Average Joe, and I'm writing you because I'd like to purchase your property located at address. Hopefully I've done some research and I've found the right person. My name is, I don't have my name in here, Jimmy Bob here in O'Fallon, and we're an investment firm that specializes in buying properties like yours in the Washington area. With that in mind, if you would consider seller financing, I would like to make you a full price offer on your property. What? Yes. I realize this may seem a little out of the blue, but I can assure you this is a real offer. My company is prepared to pay full price for your property in 30 days or less. The reason why we can offer you full market value for your property is because of our long-term buy and hold approach. So if you're interested in selling now to us, you can avoid the typical costs that eat away with your equity, like agent commissions, improvements, et cetera, et cetera. I'm so confident we can offer you more than anyone else. I've included a letter of intent for your review. Please have a look at it. Let me know. And here's a letter of intent. It's not a contract. It's just a letter of intent. It says, hey, we'll buy your property for $365, put $1,000 earnest money. Down payment is $0. We'll pay you monthly payments of $1,350 a month until paid, approximately 270 months. We'll pay all taxes and insurance. How many of you think I'm crazy by offering the seller full price on a property? No, this is principal only payments. It'll cash flow. I'll build up equity super fast. And this is a property I'd probably just rent it out. I'd hold it long term and just rent it. You think about it, $1,350 a month, $1,350 times 12. I'm getting $16,000 in equity a year. After 5 years, I have $81,000 in equity. And after 5 years, that property is maybe appreciated. What did we say it was worth? Like $395. So $395 times 1.02. If it appreciates just 2% a year, it'll be worth $403 after 1 year. $410 after 1 year. $420 after 2. You see what I'm doing here? So it might be worth $430 in 5 years, and I will have 80% in equity. So I'll have about $100,000 in equity in 5 years on this deal. And I'll be cash flowing. So that's why I like those blind owner financing offers. All right, so this is just a letter of intent. Okay, so let's wrap this up. Appreciate you all. If you have questions and you want to join my inner circle where I have these kinds of calculators and softwares and community and support and all of that, I will put a link in the comments or the description down below. Okay, have a good one. Take care, everybody.